Something acrobatic, it's in from Hardy! There's the leveller for Plymouth Argyle! 10 minutes to go! The Blades undone by the corner kick!
evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Yes, it was a bundu of joy at Home Park today, but this time the other results didn't quite go our way, did they? But could it really go to the final game again? Well, we've got to take each game as it comes. There's only 2 left, though, now. Also, we are starting to see, are we, our best lineup, and style of football under Muslich. Again, that sort of similar 70-30 possession split. But what brilliant result today and some well-taken goals. Some players really stepping up their game now under Muslich, which is fantastic to see. Bundu on 9 goals now and 6 assists. That was never coming under Rooney. So absolutely fantastic. So yes, hope you all had a brilliant Easter break. Thank you for joining us tonight. Obviously, we planned this in. We know it's clashing, but we appreciate those that come in and join us tonight. So please put your comments in the chat. Evening, Ninja Matt. Good to see you in tonight. And obviously, we have with us Gavin, Steve, and Emma is back for a second time. Hasn't been able to join us apart from the live lounge when we first introduced Emma, because she's been away enjoying some sun. So good to see you, Emma. Core, how did you find that today? Brilliant performance, Emma. Just a shame, as usual, the other results didn't go for us.
I'm honestly just exhausted with the whole season, to be honest. I felt like almost not even nervous today. I just thought this is probably where we're going to lose again, and it's probably going to confirm that we're relegated. And then, didn't expect that. I think the first 10, 15 minutes, I could see what we were trying to do. We were quite aggressive, pressing a lot, trying to push Coventry. And I actually think it was quite balanced early on. Not a lot happened, obviously, with regards to chances. We got a couple of chances. That one with Bundu where he just literally was this far off the post.
Yeah.
But then obviously the madness of about, 7 minutes before half time? And suddenly it's 2-1. And I was just I don't know. It just seemed like we were really up for it. We were, as I said, aggressive.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was sitting up and thinking, oh my God, we could win this. And we obviously, everybody, I don't know about you guys, we all had our phones out looking at other scores, and you try not to do that, but
ping, 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 ping.
You can't help it. Yeah, I know. And then, bloody Derby went up 2-0 up, and we were like, how? When we're winning, frustrating. But, like everyone's saying, have we left it a bit too late? Well, we might have done, but I was really proud of how they won today. It just felt like everything was working.
Yeah.
It's almost like we've clicked, but we've clicked a little bit too late. And this is now a team that is working really hard together. And they are doing their best with what they've got. And Miron's doing the best with what he's got. So I was really proud from that fact, but I think it's just too little, too late. And we're going to end up relegated anyway. But yeah, I don't feel sad, really. I just feel that's what's going to happen, and I've accepted it now.
Yeah, I think, Gavin, sort of coming to you for your thoughts. Thanks for that, Emma. Do you know what? Yeah, it's still probably going to be a difficult challenge, isn't it? But seeing the performance that the lads have put in and things sort of coming together, like I said in my intro, it's great to see us. If we can end the next 2 games, as we were discussing just before we came live, on that sort of style of football, it gives us hope for then, going into wherever we end up being, give or take whatever players come and go. But, we can see that Muslich football can work.
Yeah, agreed. I think there were a few people a few weeks ago that were, when we did our little live lounge about Miron's football, were thinking that maybe we should be carried off with some white coats as a collective, but clearly it's starting to click. I think the front 3 today made a big difference, having a proper target man and not a faux target man in Bundu. Not that he hasn't done anything wrong, but having someone of 6'5" who's built like a brick privy, who is just in people's faces and is just awkward to play against, because their centre halves, both of them, were nowhere near as tall or as physical, allowed Bundu and Wright Bundu and Hardy thought they did best. Midfield standing. Bearing in mind, Grimes was taken for a very lucrative sum from Swansea to go and play in the January window at Coventry. Any Swans fan will tell you that he's one of their talisman. I can't remember, apart from the corner for their goal, I can't remember him having a kick. I thought JB and Randall, again, there were a lot of people with egg on their face and some tweets that aged like milk in a heat wave today, saying, he's picked them again. We never win with these two in defensive midfield. Oh, where's Houghton? La 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 la. By half time, must have been thinking, oh, maybe go back and delete that tweet quickly. Thought midfield were outstanding, and have to say, A1 Nicholas Katic, who hasn't been in for, was it 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Apart from his first 4 or 5 minutes where I thought, oh, he looks a bit ring rusty, drops himself right back into quite a combative, very high pressure game, like he's never been away. Credit to the man. But having Pleggy and Palson on either side of him, I thought they both were absolutely outstanding. That back three was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it allowed Bally to push up the pitch and do what he does best. No big errors today, which was good. And I thought when he did that, Such seemed to drop into a bit of a right back role, and they had a back four, a bit like actually when Schumacher was our manager and we had Bally racing at one side and Edwards dropping into to play right back. So the most complete performance I've seen this year under either manager.
Yeah, I think so. I think the start of the game was a little bit sort of Coventry were pressing hard and trying to get that breakthrough early on, and we had to absorb a bit of pressure, and we had that chance. Like Emma said, Bundu was just brilliant. All game, man of the match. A +9 rating on FOTMob. We'll show that in a second. It's rare we've seen those this season. But then as soon as that goal came, brilliantly worked, with Randall with the corner initially, and sort of it's just blindsided shot really, wasn't it, where he just struck it across that goal and it went in, and you were like, yes. And then we were really getting into the game then, and then his superb closing down of their right back, forcing the mistake, charging forward. And we've seen so many times, even obviously recently, Obafemi and TJ on the break at Middlesborough before the penalty and the winner, sort of indecisive, overthinking, however you want to look at it. And then, he decides to pass it to Hardy, and then, Hardy just has to bury it, which is exactly what he did. And I think that, it was just such a, positive, sort of game from that point onwards. Steve, were you at the game today?
No, I wasn't at the game today because I've been away this weekend.
Yeah, of course you have, yeah. But you still, you managed to watch it though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was your thoughts from seeing it on TV?
Obviously, we really pressed well. And that, obviously, it was a bit similar to the Sheffield United and the Norwich home games. We sort of up in the first 15 minutes and we gradually got into the game.
Yeah.
And in pressing forward, I thought the defence was phenomenal. Going down the wing, obviously, Barley down the left-hand side, and you got Seuss with his long throws, and those throws were causing all sorts of problems as well. And the clinical finishing of Hardy and Bundu.
Yeah, no, it's, I think, just switch back to me quickly. I think, for me, just read out some of these comments actually, because a few of it sort of say them. Martin, good evening, Martin. Good to see you again. According to BBC stats, Coventry played more long balls than us today, which is just mad to think, isn't it? Graham, good evening, Graham. Yeah, we need a bigger miracle than we did last week now. Thought we were excellent today. Yeah, look, the season is a very long season, excuse that, but yeah, the mistakes all happen in that first sort of 2 quarters, and I think Music has done an amazing job, considering we're up there sort of around mid-table if you look at form book and all that sort of stuff. He said in the press conference today, if I'd have been here from the start, we wouldn't be fighting for relegation, and it's all hearsay, unfortunately and sadly for us. Those circumstances couldn't be the case. And I think, we go into the next two games, and we'll bring up the fixtures and stuff in a minute, where you're thinking to yourself, do you know what? It just probably is a touch too far. And Graham's right. We need a bigger miracle than we did the other day. Ben's in tonight. Good evening, Ben, as well. We are still in the fight. As I put on my tweet earlier, yeah, there's still that opportunity, and there's still some big games to come. But yes, as Emma said, when we were looking at the scores coming through on your phones, as I'm sure everybody was, you were like, yes, no, what, how? And I actually felt, Emma, that Derby and Luton, after the game that they had on Friday, where Derby chucked everything, including the kitchen sink, at Luton to try and get an equaliser. And I thought, cool, they're going to burn themselves out for their games on Monday. And fairness, both of them won, and won very well in the end.
Yeah, fair play to Derby going away and winning 3-1. But they've been so much better since Eustace has been there, obviously. And yeah, it's not a surprise. I did think maybe one or two of the others might get a result today, but for the bottom five to actually get points, and at one point it looked like Cardiff were going to get 3 as well.
Yeah,
you just couldn't write it, could you? Because you're like, well, we're doing the best that we can, and they're doing the same. And actually, there's like 3 teams that won 3-1 today. Like, you would never have said that before we started. Like, and there's nothing we can do other than concentrate on our games. And hope that somebody slips up somewhere. I mean, is it Hull playing Derby on Saturday, I think?
Yeah.
So they can't both win. But we've got to go to Preston, which is, obviously
Preston have
only
won
won once away.
Preston have won in 6.
Yeah, they're almost.
They've lost every game. They've lost or drawn every game in the last 6.
Yeah, but then we've only won 1 away, haven't we? So
it's the battle of the. Well, I won't use that word, but yeah, there we go. Not very good teams.
To be fair, Preston are now like only 6 points ahead of us, aren't they? So they've been dragged right down into it as well.
Yeah, by losing.
It's mad.
Yeah.
You would never have had them down there, and obviously Stoke got battered today, so they're still kind of within that touching distance as well. But I don't know. Like, even if we manage to get something from Preston, Leeds.
Well,
it can be done, but it's just terrifying, isn't it? Like,
let's look at we'll cut back to the game today, and we'll touch a bit on the Middlesbrough match, and what happened there. But yes, the next round of fixtures, as you can see there, Stoke got Sheffield United on Friday. Oh, firstly, must we say congratulations to Leeds and to Burnley. Burnley getting a 2-1 win against Sheffield United this evening secures both promotions for those two clubs. They are level on 94 points, but Leeds' goal difference is huge. Will they be ready? And will they be champions by the time they come to home park? Hope so to one degree, certainly if we're still in that fight. But yes, we've got Stoke and Sheffield United then on the Friday, followed by the early kickoffs. And how massive could this be as a motivator or a little bit of a disheartener? But Luton play Coventry, kickoff at 12:30. I'm sure Coventry, after Middlesbrough's defeat in the end today, keeps them in 6th position in the playoffs in the last spot. West Brom losing as well. And obviously, if you haven't seen, Tony Mowbray has been sacked as the manager there after just 3 months in charge. Crazy, but they're obviously taking a massive gamble, and I hope that will turn their fortunes around with just 2 games to go. And then the other 12:30 kickoff is QPR versus Burnley. So that could be an interesting one because Leeds don't play until Monday night. So it's going to be touch and go. If Leeds could then see the result, that favours them to win the title on the Monday. What else have we got there? We got Blackburn versus Watford, not of interest to us, but this one is Cardiff versus West Brom. As I just said, Tony Mowbray sacked. Gavin, I mean, I sort of understand it because their run of form hasn't been great recently, but it just goes to show, doesn't it, how up and down clubs are with managers.
I don't know why they've done it now. But why not wait 2 games and have a proper dissection of his time over the last 3 months at the end of the season? Bring him in, bring the assistant in, go through the stats, go through the performances, go through the player stats and say, sorry, Tony, you're a lovely man, but you're not for us. Why do it now? I don't think they've got anything to play for. Are they still within a playoff hope?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what
6 points behind.
They're not making 6 points up in 2 games. Let's be candid.
No,
Yeah.
so it's
West Brom
there you go. Look, 66, and they're on.
They're not doing that, are they? With 2
No.
games to go, that seems really strange.
I
You just take your medicine, don't you, as a board, and say, let's see what planning has for next year. Sacking him after 3 months seems ludicrous.
Yeah, I thought they still had a chance. Actually, mathematically, a goal difference. But
Yeah,
it's
everyone else around us to lose. So just real strange. But we've had some. This championship, the owners are they've got the concentration and the attention span of a gnat, haven't they? But the young one this week gone, and I'd love to see that wage bill on managers. If you look at Watford and Stoke and West Brom now and Hull, they've been changed, and Cardiff, they've been changing them like the clappers.
Well, as we said before, it just makes a mockery, doesn't it, of the of football at times. When Tony Mowbray came in with an experienced team. Obviously, there was a few fans that wanted him linked up to us. But that with his backroom staff, that wouldn't have come cheap either. So, he got his backroom staff straight in, ready to go, and has been unable to turn it round. Carl joins us from Poland. He's not on the show tonight because he is away on holiday too. Andy, I forgot, does have commitments on a Monday night, so that's why he's not with us. But yes, so evening, Carl. Hope looks like from your photos you keep sending us, you're having a good time over there. Pilgrim PT, evening, mate. Good to see you in. West Brom fall to pieces the moment they sold Palmer to Ipswich. Serves Mowbray right for leaving his best players on the bench. Yet fair enough. He also, as we're talking about the fixtures at the second, said, what result do we want Saturday if Coventry beat Luton, with Hull versus Derby home to Stoke, and Hull away to Portsmouth? Yeah, you'd look at it and say on the last game of the season, it's not necessarily in our favour, but stranger things have happened in football, and take last season and the last game as an example of that. Hull versus Derby, Steve, that's, a win for either of those two teams pretty much secures them, that sort of place, certainly for Hull, doesn't it?
I think looking at the points, I think we would want Hull to win that one, wouldn't we?
Well, you would, to keep Derby in that touching distance.
Yeah, I think Derby who's Derby got last game? I think is it Stoke?
Yeah.
Is it Stoke?
So if I just flip to the final, Derby plays Stoke. 12:30 kick, or other all 12:30s. Yeah. So it makes it Stoke getting thrashed by Leeds today, 6-0. I think it was 5-0 at half time. So ended 6-0. So I think it's
we have to go to Preston and win. A draw's no good.
No, it's not. No, we do want Hull to win that one. You then got Middlesbrough versus Norwich, Millwall versus Swansea City, Oxford versus Sunderland. Then obviously Preston versus ourselves, Sheffield Wednesday versus Portsmouth. So, and I have to say, shout out, we've said this a couple of times, to Portsmouth and Oxford, with fantastic turnarounds, when Portsmouth were almost, and a shout out to Jamie from TikTok, who used to join us in our TikTok lives, sort of dead and buried, and writing off their season. And they've managed to pull it off. So fair play to them. A few more in the comments. Carl's just saying, obviously, Luton or Derby only need one more win to relegate us. I think if Luton win, though, does that, with Derby where they are, there's still a chance. So if Luton, is that right? Get that early kick-off and win?
Oh, I don't know.
We'll have a look in a second. And Carl's also saying, I'm more worried about the final day fixtures, not next week.
We need 6 points. Not really, don't we?
The last day's a lottery, isn't it? We saw that last year.
Yeah.
Who cares? I've said all along, if we go down swinging and we take some big teams with us and we're playing good football and we're playing winning football, who cares? Because the momentum into next year, either way, is going to be really positive with a good pre-season from Miron and some better recruitment and clearing out the closet a little bit and making a bit of a spring clean. I'm happy either way. I think that team today, if you drop that into League One, would pummel most sides playing like that. It'd have more of the ball than 27%, but it would pummel most sides. The firepower up top is amazing. Tajani, we've got an option to buy. which I think is about 600k, which seems ludicrous considering how the player he is. If you'd said that 3 months ago, you'd have said it's probably 600,000 too much. But no one had seen him play, had they, at that point? Hardy's here next year for definite, unless we get a crazy offer for him in the summer. The only real conversation really to be had is Bundu, and I'm sure his agent, I think we discussed going on, Mike, his agent's probably saying to Moose, there's probably a contract on the table. Let's just not be too hasty. Let's see what comes in June, and we'll sign just before pre-season if we need to. I'd say the same if I was him too, because he's playing out of his skin, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, well, I'll come on to the stats in a second of the game of the day, but yeah, he got I think it was a 9.2 or something on FOP rating. Carl's saying, if we stay up, I'll donate my signed Rooney shirt for charity. Clearly, the bin men haven't even taken that yet from him. So
that poor bloody charity that's going to get 15 pence and an half-eaten Mars bar is going to be thanking you, Carl. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, let's just finish summarising the final day's fixtures where we go. So the Leeds and Bristol game on the Monday, the 28th, and then we get to May the 3rd. Bristol versus Preston, Burnley versus Millwall, Coventry versus Middlesbrough. Oh my lord, how big a final game could that turn out to be for the last place of the playoffs? Obviously, Derby, Stoke, Norwich, Cardiff. So Norwich, who probably on recent form are right down there in that bottom half. If you look over the last few months, horrendous form of late. Doesn't give me any hopes really with Cardiff, even though it's Norwich. It's at home at Norwich. Obviously, us and Leeds, Portsmouth versus Hull. Again, Portsmouth might want to finish off on a high. I can't see them having any issues now. Of course, Sheffield United versus Blackburn, Sunderland, QPR, Swansea, Oxford, Watford, Sheffield Wednesday, and West Brom, Luton. So if that manager bounce does do us any favours on the last game of the season, hopefully it could be that one. So we shall see.
Depends if they give Janet, the cleaner, the manager's duties. Take your tab on off, Janet. Go and take training, and you can do the last couple of games. You'll be better than Tony. Then we might have a problem, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So just look at the summarise of the stats. So 27% to 73, pretty much averages out around that for us. And also, ladies and gentlemen, can you see there? We have another +2 expected goals XG in there, which the first, I'm not sure if it was the first time, but first time in a while maybe, where we've had it certainly away from home against Middlesbrough, and we still didn't come away with any share of the spoils there. Total shots 10 to us, 11 to Coventry, 5 on target to their 3. Big chances 4-4. Big chances missed 2 to their 3. Accurate passes, we were about 53% to their 81. And
the number of accurate passes, though, it's like 3 to 1 difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It just we wouldn't be seeing these sort of stats, would we? From this sort of team until recently. So, if we look at the player ratings, if you can see there, so but 9.3. I do apologise, Bundo. I dropped you a decimal point off there. So 9.3. It's been I want to say a while because can't remember all of these, but to see a player in the 9s, Emma, is rare. But he was just everywhere today. Yeah.
He's just getting better, isn't he? And I listened to Miron's post-match, and they asked him, why is he playing so much better? And he said, we're just playing him in a role that is his role. Like, he is just excelling at being in that kind of number 10 and then swapping into the number 9 if he needs to. He's in everyone's faces. He's making a nuisance of himself. Like, that third goal, if he hadn't have followed up the rebound and bundled it in, then he wouldn't have scored. So he's just really aggressive. He wants every ball. He's always making space. He's just improved so much. Like, from when we signed him and everyone was joking about him being from Newquay, and when he even just started and everyone was just like, who is this guy? He doesn't do anything. People were getting frustrated with him, and he's just a completely different player. Like you said, if we take him into League One, he's going to be in like 20 goals for the season plus probably, because he's just going to batter everyone else, and all the defenders are going to hate playing against him.
We need to kidnap his agent about tomorrow, and then let him back out in the wild, get him down into Joseph Fritzl's cellar until September the 3rd or something, and then we'll be fine.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? If we go down, then other clubs will be coming and looking at him because
he's out of contract anyway, so he's a free agent from June the 15th or whatever it is.
Yeah, he had a 12-month extension, didn't he?
Sorry,
it's whether Miron can like sell the thing to him, isn't it, for next season and say, look, if you stay with me, you're going to get games.
Did he sign an extension then? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
Say again?
Bundu, did you say he signed an extension?
No, he had that 1-year extension last year, didn't he?
Oh, okay, fine.
So it's all, and I think, like you said, though, it's going to be one of those where put yourself in the window big time and see if that deal comes up for you. You can't blame anybody for wanting to wait to see what happens. We know, obviously, Pleggy signed that 2-year extension. Caleb Roberts, obviously, this week signed that 2-year extension, but Pleggy's been playing out of his skin. Seriously strong contender for Player of the Season now, and yeah, at least if anything, we might have a release clause that's reasonable. That if he does sadly end up leaving us, if we go down, then we'll make some money off him. But
he spoke really.
Does he not
well.
have an extension? Like, because some players have extensions. Obviously, you play so many games, you get like an extra year.
Yeah. Well, they said, I suppose, yeah. I don't know if that was. I don't really know if it was a trigger or not, to be honest with you. But yeah, look, at least we can make some money from him because he's definitely, I think, shown his ability in the Championship. In fairness, what were you going to say, Gavin?
As Bundu's man of the match interview after the game today in hospitality was first class.
Yeah,
he was very humble, delighted that the club's carrying winning. Obviously, understood the situation and where we are. But he didn't sound like a player that had anything other on his mind than representing the club at this point. I'm not saying that will change what come May the 4th, but today he was absolutely on it, which I thought was fantastic. Who knows?
Yeah, like Graham's just said in the comments, players will leave. It's inevitable, really. Yeah, certainly with the situation. Matt also agreeing. Player of the season for me, Pleggy. Certainly going to be an interesting one because I think, even though I'm a massive fan, I think Hazard is still sort of tipping it up there. JB. So, another one, and Gavin, you sort of alluded it into your sort of synopsis at the start. Seeing him on the team sheet. I mean, I remember Herbie and I sort of commenting in the group chat when it came out, trying to work out what formation he's playing because obviously he threw us with pitting TJ on and JB in there. Now, JB actually has got one of the lowest ratings on FOTMob of 6.8.
It's a joke.
And yeah, I thought he was brilliant today.
I think it's the best defensive midfield game he's had for us for a long, long time. Probably ever, actually, in the defensive midfield position. He won the ball. He broke up play and won the ball like Houghton does, but he still had that drive to go forward like he does when he plays in the 10 channel. I thought I said it in my interview. If you've got a midfield of Grimes and Allen, they're both class. Grimes is probably one of the best midfielders in the division. Certainly ball playing midfielders, sort of from that defensive. I thought they were absolutely outstanding, both of them. And JB today, if he played like that all year, there would not be the naysayers and the doubters that there are to sort of put him down every week. But Miron, I thought, hit the nail on the head in his interview. He said he doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's not one of us. He's a Leeds player on loan.
Yeah, there is.
At least he's honest.
There is some of that. I think, he's one that certainly sort of brought some debate up amongst the fan base, hasn't he? And he's not an England under 21 for no reason. There's no other player, in our squad that is that. And I think, sort of he's he not stating the obvious because they're not all English. Sorry, before anybody thinks what's he going on about, but he's definitely got some credentials as we've discussed before, and I think for me, he's starting to find his rhythm in the game, and also as we've said before, when the team collectively plays well, everybody tends to come to the fore. Even we'll touch up on it in a minute, but Badew's little cameo at the end, nearly creating a goal out of nothing for himself. But with JB, there was, Emma, you said about Bundu's chance in the first half before the goals. If I'm not mistaken, that was a brilliant little pass from JB that got it to him in the build-up to him having that opportunity in the first place. So, what's your thoughts on JB, Emma?
So he, I think he had a lot of confidence from the Middlesbrough game because he was really good in that number 10. And then probably similar to you guys, when I saw the team sheet and I saw Houghton wasn't even on the bench, and I looked and I thought, well, that means it's JB and Randall midfield, and that filled me with a bit of dread. I thought, oh no, is he going to go back to his old ways? Like that midfield pairing sometimes just doesn't work. But yeah, he absolutely picked up from where he left off at Middlesbrough. He was hungry for everything. He was making challenges. A couple of times he went down and, probably should have a free kick, and he was really like fighting for it. And yeah, he created chances. I think he was probably better than Randall. I know on there it says that he wasn't, but I think Rand's sometimes lost the ball a bit, and his corners weren't great today.
Yeah,
I don't know how many times he hit the first man when he was taking his corners, and I was like despairing. But I don't know who else would take corners for us at the moment. Actually,
it was Sorinola, wasn't it? Who until he got.
And obviously, if it's a free kick situation, I'd put Bundu on that now. But JB, I was happy with him. I think he got a big round of applause, didn't he? When he went off, and he was just all over the place. But it's a shame that he's now peaking with like 3 games to go. Where was this guy before? But Miron's only had a few months. He's continued to play him even when we've been critical of him, and I think he sees something in him and he's really pushed him. And then when he gave him the number 10 role against Middlesbrough, which is where he played last season against Middlesbrough, and he did really well there as well. Now he's got this confidence and he brought it into today, and he was great. I couldn't have faulted any of them really. Like they all did their jobs. Bundu was amazing. TJ, was great. He's so big, and he was knackered at the end. Like you could see, he was blowing.
Yeah, I'll come on
and he needed to come off.
Yeah, I'll come on to TJ in a minute because I think there's an interesting one with him starting the day. But I can't not go to Steve for the stat of where sort of the dreaded. When was the last time with Randall and JB starting? Steve, did we win before today?
Blackburn at home in October.
Yeah, so so they start today as that dreaded hoodoo of oh my lord, like Emma just said, and then we've broken that now. But I think with the sort of having a bit more freedom, if that's the right word, I'm not a tactician.
The pressure's off as well.
Say again.
The pressure's off.
I don't know. Still had to go out there and make sure we won it. Looking at the comments as well, just Voodoo, evening Voodoo, good to see you in. I don't think we'll be able to hold on to Bundu or Hardy, unfortunately. That could potentially be the reason why we're not hearing anything there. Pilgrim Petey corrected me. Thank you. On the Bundu only signed a 2-year contract, no extension or clause for an extra year. Be gutted if we lose another player on a free contract. Just be so Argyle, wouldn't it? Marcus, evening Marcus, good to see you in. Didn't Miron have a dig by saying we would be safe by 5 games if he came in the summer? Yeah, sort of touched upon that in my intro, Marcus. But, such is hindsight. Hey, it's a wonderful thing. PE as well, saying about JB. JB was much more disciplined today with his positioning. Didn't just run around like a headless chicken all over the pitch like he has in other games. There's parts of that. Marcus also saying Azaz, touching on the point Gavin brought up, or Emma, sorry, he's not one of our own, but Azaz saying, Marcus saying Azaz had all the love and he wasn't one of our own. No,
he didn't have all the love for the first 6 to 8 months of his loan spell. Everyone was going, what the fuck have we got here? It was only when he in that last 12 months of his 18 months, and certainly the last 6 months, he became the player he was, and that's what's kicked him on. But yeah, he barely got a kick, I think, in his first 3 to 6 months. He was in and out the side all the time.
Yeah, good point. An observation, Gavin, to bring up and counteract to that, Marcus. Graham as well, Leeds in Premier League now, being in the Premier League now. They won't want JB, so that could be a benefit. I know we asked in a couple of pods ago, would we want him if he was available for £1 million? I know myself, Gavin, and I think you, Steve, said yes, we would. Emma, would you take him if he was offered to us for £1 million?
JB for £1 million?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we spent, how much did we spend on Beidou?
Yeah.
Point of that as well is that JB obviously can't play against Leeds last game of the season. So we are gonna, I don't know what's wrong with Houghton, if it's just a knock or something, but we are then down to Randall and Boateng as our options.
Good
so that's a bit of a worry. And obviously JB having to watch from the stands when he's just literally hitting a really good patch of form is worrying, but it might not matter by then. But yeah, it's going to be a bit gutting, isn't it?
It's another typical one, isn't it?
Robert usually plays against Leeds, doesn't he?
Didn't we try and sign JB in last summer and got told to bugger off?
I don't know.
They said we can have him, but only on loan. But I think, I think Graham's absolutely bang on. It was Graham, wasn't it? We need, if they go up, he's not going to be in their C, D, E, F plan, let alone their A, B, C. They've got, they're owned by Red Bull, aren't they? So they're going to get a big chunk of change probably to go and pick the market. If he's happy down here, which he seems to be, he's had 18 bloody months now, hasn't he? Why not sign him? I think at his ceiling, he could be worth 7, 8, 9 million quid, but probably when he's 23, 24, 25, not 21, 22.
Read that comment out, Gavin.
Muslich could have mentioned Gav's aunt. Interesting, undiplomatic answer from him. Thank you. I did tweet him just before we came on that if my auntie had danglies, she'd be my uncle. And Voodoo come back with his own unique style. And I think he said, you've got to admit when you're wrong. And I said, yeah, but only superhumans like you, Voodoo, that have got that EQ could admit when you're wrong. There are many on Twitter that die in that hill, that they are going to stay to the grave that are the JB shit or so and so and so and so. Anyway, there we are.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah, Martin saying, I think the 3 of Bundu, Hardy and Tajani could be devastating, but they need more game time together and games are run out. I think there was, sort of, we'll come on to Tajani now. Marcus, also saying Tajani looked class. I think with TJ, he scored a FOTMOB rating of 7.3. I think what was interesting is there's part of me that actually watching the Middlesbrough game and that brilliant first half that we had, and just thought, God, if we'd have known, we must have known we were going to give it a go, but obviously you don't know if you're going to get the chances. Part of me sort of felt, would he have been the right sort of person to start up in this sort of formation against Middlesbrough? Because he can win headers. We know he can obviously shoot. That was clear against Norwich, but it's seeing against Sheffield United, but it's seeing what else he's got within his game. And I think when we got into the game, Gavin, and sort of we got the goal, he seemed to come alive as well. I mean, I remember him having a brilliant run down the right flank at one stage as well, putting in a really good ball in, but no one really there to get to it. He did well, other than just win headers.
He held it up. He's got for a guy who's colossal in size, he has 2 good feet. He showed that when he first came on in our last home game when we beat Sheffield United. He flicked one down the line and bought the foul, kept on rolling and nearly ended up in the Devonport end, but that's a different story. But he's got definitely 2 good feet. He can pick a pass. He's actually deceptively quick because he probably covers 3.5 to 4 meters per stride. His legs don't go that very fast, but I think he covers a lot of ground when he runs. And he seems to have half a football brain. So the way he's connecting today, I thought with Bundu and Hardy was quite intelligent. So we've got an option to buy this guy. I think we've got to rip their hand off, whatever the price was agreed pre-season. He's got to stay because he'll get 15 to 20 goals in League One.
Yeah,
He can have far more time on the ball.
and putting it into context, this is his first start all season. Second.
Second.
Right. Yeah. What was his first start?
Sheffield Wednesday away.
Oh, the actual first game. Yeah. So when you consider then,
it's gone full circle.
Yeah, when you consider that, he's from that severe injury, he's managed to get some minutes to get back going, scored, the winner against Sheffield United, sort of confidence really high, and wasn't really able to do much, to be fair, in the second half against Middlesbrough. We were under the cosh by them for most of that second half, but yeah, come out today and started really well, and I think.
He made a bit of a bit of a tint towards signing. I think Chris Harrington or one of the guys, I think when the Radio Devon guy asked him, we've got an option to buy. If we stay up, are you happy to move to a perm? And he said yes. And they said,
very
well,
much on the.
What about if we go down? And he didn't say no. He just went, well, I'm happy to talk to the club about any permanent move. So I think if we can get him, if we lost Bundu, which is likely, then I think if you up front three included Beidou, now I'm going to get absolute pelters off everybody. But I think if that front three was Beidou and TJ and Hardy, I still think we'd rip up League One.
Yeah, Voodoo's saying TJ is very raw and needs a very good coach to improve. Music could be that man. He's certainly getting the best out of a lot of players. Sort of Hardy obviously had his scoring boot on when he needed to today with that break away from Bundu and the pass, slotting that away. If he'd have missed that, I think Bundu would have killed him. So
he said those exact words in hospitality.
Oh, was it?
The first words he entered when they went in the changing room, he went up to Hardy and said, if it was a boot on the other foot, would you have passed to me? And Hardy went, what a fuck.
Yeah, and Graham also pointing out, couldn't work out who it was that went down from our block for a while. But yes, TJ putting in a diving or whatever it was to block the shot. And
he literally put his head in, didn't he? He literally put his head right in the... He could have been knocked out easily. I thought he was actually to start with.
Yeah, because even Zooks or someone was waving the medics on quickly. Speaking of, we'll sort of go top to front to back even, sorry. Obviously with Bundu Hardy, we just mentioned. Mumba, had a good game. I did criticise him because he has, sadly, and to be fair, he would have been up there for, right up there for player of the season. Obviously, he missed a few games and had to fight his way back in. But, he's got a 7 in the rating today. He had a really good game, I felt. But, yeah, he does have those mistakes in his locker, though, doesn't he? And I think he gave away, it was his throw-in that he threw out that led to down our end, that led to the Coventry having a throw in, messing it up or something that led to Bundu stealing the ball with the defender and going forward to make it 2-0. So it's in his locker, that, Emma, isn't it? That those little mistakes, sadly, with Mumba, but he can turn it on and be brilliant.
Yeah, but I think he's one of our players that now is part of our kind of, not old school, but he gets it. He gets Argyle, and not having Houghton or Edwards on today. When I looked at the sheet, I was like, oh my God, who's going to get them up for this? And a couple of times he got a bit tetchy with some of their players, and he was trying to G us up. And actually, Bundu and Hardy probably are our more senior players in that respect, where they have been part of Argyle for so long, and they are the ones who are come on, lads, we can do this. I know he said in the press conference last week about that's just so Argyle when we came behind and beat Sheffield United. So he just gets it. And I think, he has got a mistake in him. We know that he can slip over. We know that he can give a ball away, but he's always putting tackles in. He's trying his best to move the ball up the pitch. And like I said, he's got that passion, and that's what we need. And I think I love Barley. I've always loved him. You get frustrated with him sometimes, but I think he's Argyle through and through, and we need to, again, keep hold of him as best we can. There'll be other people looking at him as well.
Yeah, I think, Steve, with Barley, in the games where we're not doing well, take the Middlesbrough one, sometimes it may be that he just tries to overdo it, trying to sort of make something happen.
He does.
and then getting caught with it.
It's like in that Middlesbrough game when we obviously for that penalty incident. All you got to do is just play the simple pass, and he tries to play his way out of things where he should just play a simple ball.
Yeah, I think it was one of those moments for him where it's not. Yeah, I mean, for me it was very frustrating because he tried to a little like sort of almost like a back heel, and then that's when he got caught out on the ball. But obviously that wasn't the only reason why we lost that game.
But also
on Friday, yeah,
about 20 seconds earlier there was that chance. We had that chance, didn't we?
Yeah, Obafemi and TJ. Yeah. So again, that
the
was
wrong option. It was a bit like when Baidu had out on the Watford game. Straight to TJ. He was dilly and dally on the ball, lost the ball.
Yeah, and I think sort of Gavin and I were talking as well, sort of after that game, and even Hardy left his scoring boots at home that game. But yeah, look, Bally has been instrumental this season, overall. So you can't
Bally in League One.
Yeah,
that's where we end up. Statistically or probability wise, we're probably going to be there, right? Without getting naysayers. Barley Mumba will have so much more time on the ball, and having one of our or three of our 5 defenders, if you take Katic out of the scenario, he might sign, he might not. I don't think he's got a problem because he'll have such a security blanket behind him to move forward. And we don't know who else we're going to sign in midfield. I think he'd be class. Back in League One, he's already proved it once. That's why we signed him. And when he gets forward on that front foot, he's nearly unstoppable. If he's coasting through Championship players at the minute, then League One is. I've watched some League One games recently just to sort of reacclimatise myself to the standard of football, and it ain't pretty compared to what we're up against week in, week out now. There's a stark difference between the Champ and League One. So I think he'll do really, really well coming back down. I think we've got the nucleus already of a very good team with a bit more coaching and some good additions. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah,
prior to Mumba was playing for Peterborough on loan the season before we signed him.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
and he struggled then in the Championship.
But he was what, 20 then?
1920.
Yeah. He's a different player.
He will be another one that will be obviously because he's was it a 4-year deal?
2 years time is going to be a different player than he is today. The youth guys that are coming through 18, 19, 20, 21. Give them 2 years playing regular football. They're different humans altogether.
What was Gav, I was talking over you then. What was it, a 4-year deal he signed when we signed him?
Bally, yes,
it was.
One more season after this one.
Yeah, so
it's
whether or not he will get. Obviously, I know there was rumours linking him to Leeds, wasn't there? But yeah, he will want to stay in this Championship for sure. But obviously, if someone wants to come in, there was certainly one thing. I mean, Middlesbrough may have robbed us late on Friday, but we certainly robbed them with Whittaker. Thank you very much. But Pleguezuelo, Katic to end on, Poulsen, and not forgetting obviously Hazard. For me, looking at the scores, 7 for Pleggy, 7.6 for Katic, 7.4 for Poulsen. I mean, it was great to see Katic back, but my Lord, Poulsen was a man possessed today. Brilliant performance, and he was jeering the crowd up at every opportunity as well. Emma, he's just
he's another guy. He's another guy, isn't he? That a lot of us wrote off. Let's be honest, you'd see his name and you'd be thinking, oh God, this is going to be awful. Because it was a Rooney signing. He came from Rooney, didn't he? He's played for him before. Yeah, and I don't really think he knew how to play him. And now he's got Muslich, who's actually, I don't know what he's doing with these players, but suddenly in the last 5-6 games, we are now seeing that potential of all of them, really. They're all picking up. It's just a bit late, I think. But yeah, he was amazing. Like you said, he was geeing up the crowd. He was throwing tackles in. He was sometimes when he just needs to make a calm kind of clearance just out to the side, throw in, no problem. He didn't look stressed. And that's exactly what you want, isn't it, in your back line? Just someone who's really calm. He's got that aura about him as well, like him and Katic. I think they just they're natural kind of leaders, aren't they?
I think with Pleggy as well. Pleggy's a natural talker. The three of them were absolutely incredible today at organising a defence. They all seem to know each other well. They all seem to get on well. I think that I said this about Paulson even when he was playing shit. He's a really good talker. He organises the defence really, really well. What I think what Miron's done is give him a bit of confidence, a bit of belief, because every time he touched the ball on the Rooney, he got booed, probably because we were 5-0 or 6-0 down at the time. Let's be candid. He's come out on himself. When he had his first interview, he said, "I'm a leader. I like to dominate." Blah blah blah. And everyone thought, okay. And then they saw him play and went, "Is this the same guy?" Sorry. But I think he's had that a bit like what they said about Bundu earlier. Play regularly, you get a bit of a whisper in your ear from your coach saying, "You're my man. You're doing really well." La la la. And even when he's been out the side, he was for 2 or 3 weeks on the bench. He's come back in with Katic's injury. He's been superb. But I think there's those three at the back, and it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Katic or it could be Maxi next year or Galloway. The levels of communication is so high that we are just impenetrable at that stage, because they both today. Paulson was pulling Such back all the time, pulling here, sit here. When Bally went forward, they move into a back four. The communication is just at such an elite level. They're playing, they do things really safe, don't they? Katic and Paulson aren't going to drop the ball down like Pleggy does and look up for a man. They normally hit the stands with the ball if it's coming to them.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in trouble. They're never going to dilly-dally on it. And if they've got a header to win, they win it. If they've got a tackle to win, they win it. And if there's a block to play, it's either the face, the goalies, anywhere. They just put themselves in front of the ball, which is all you can ask. I think
the whole leadership, and also it was around the Bristol City game that we sadly went to, and that awful result there. But that was, I think it was either the press conference before that match where Paulson said, sadly the fans haven't seen the best out of me. It was around that time, and I remember that game, and it was like, oh, that was horrendous, and from everybody. But yeah, there is a little bit of a coincidence since Rooney left that he's then suddenly, sort of come in and turned it on. And, I would say almost immediately when he was called upon, obviously Katic and Maxi, when they were signed, it sort of put Paulson out. And certainly when he's played in that central role, but he was superb before they joined, and every game he's come in, so you absolutely have to give him his due. And speaking of sort of leaders on the pitch, absolutely, Pleggy, Katic, Paulson, all there getting the players going. Bundu did at times as well, TJ, but the one. Not because maybe I didn't see it, but it didn't stand out to me, and because I felt he was quieter in the game. But Randall had the captain's armband, but I sort of wonder whether or not he doesn't need that pressure. And in sort of these sort of games, you just got to give it to the more experienced player. But
I'll disagree with you there, Mike. If you remember in the second half, Randall got 3 blocks from a corner in a row to get us out of trouble, where he just put his body and everything on the line. You don't have to be.
Was Edwards' influence partly as well there?
Well, maybe, but look, you don't have to beat your chest and start riling up the crowd when you're playing alongside Nicola Katic.
Do it.
Nelson, Blake was Halo. There's such strong characters around the side. You don't need to be that beat your chest captain. You just need to just lead by example. And I thought today he led by example in everything that he did. I can't remember him making one mistake, either on the ball or off the ball. So that's all you need, isn't it? It's for me, you can be a silent leader. You don't have to be the guy doing all the talking.
No, but it's just noticeable, and I think it's a nice thing to have. A number of players that are absolutely pitting those hard tackles in, throwing their bodies at it, and then jeering the crowd up. Whether or not it's a Maxi thing that's infected everybody, and his an interesting one to touch up on. Obviously, he may make it back for the final 2 games, but God, that's a tough call, isn't it? Dropping the likes of Paulson, you would say would be the one for Maxi to come in. I sort of feel you would start him on the bench because obviously he's got to come back in and get back into it. And while there's still a hope against Preston, I think you're keeping that back 3 as it is, aren't you? Emma, what's your thoughts?
We obviously don't know how bad Maxi's injury was. Like, he did that weird little video a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? Or a few days ago, where it was like, "Oh, I'm nearly ready to be back. Like, I'm really happy to be." Yeah, and it's like, why are we doing that? Because that's now got that pressure of like he's going to come back, and he's like our savior. When actually, like you said, our back line is doing really well. I don't want him to come back if he's not ready. He's our player, so we don't want him to come back, injure himself further, and be out for the whole summer, rehabbing or something. So, I think from Miron's point of view, he looks at each game and he literally does look at who the best person is against that other team. He talks a lot about the other team's tactics, possession and how they set up. And I really think he just looks at us and goes, okay, who's going to be the best for that situation? So if Maxi is fit and he's able to start the game and he's the right person to play, then he will put him in. But if he's not going to use him. And I think that's really good. And the fact that we've got the confidence in everybody else in that back line that they can all swap back in, and actually they'll all do a job, won't they? But like, there's no real weak link there, like you said, like today, and Such, when he's come back in, he's just been really good.
Yeah, he's been solid.
And then we've got, obviously, Joe should be back as well. But, having started him against Middlesbrough, I thought he looked quite tired and leggy at the end. And then obviously he's had that, that penalty situation. He was very wound up, and I don't know whether he can do a full game. I don't know, and I don't want to put Maxi in there either for a full game if he's not fit enough. So
yeah. So here's a question, Emma. So I did say in our chat, obviously we did our live lounge on Thursday. So we obviously haven't done a post Middlesbrough, but we're touching upon it throughout this, and we won't dwell on it too much. But for me, Edwards didn't have a great game, and it was almost like Mujlic said after the Sheffield United game that he was going to start him, and almost because of the reaction that he had from him, and the fans, that he would have been crucified, I think, if he hadn't started him, and we'd have still gone on to lose. And you didn't play Edwards, and that's why. And I, sort of said to Gavin privately, I just didn't think, he was great. He was okay, but he just wasn't, that impact, that he had in that game against Sheffield United, because the circumstances were different. And I just felt he was a little bit.
It was him and TJ. It was him and TJ, wasn't it? So they came on, they changed the game, and we won. And then people were livid against Middlesbrough that TJ wasn't starting.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, actually, I can see what Music is trying to do. He's going to bring him on again as an impact, because that's how he worked really well. Then he started him today. And again, TJ was really tired by the end. He was, he was almost like begging to come off because he hasn't done a full 90 minutes. And he had a really bad injury. So you've got to manage your players as well. Like, yes, you want them to make an impact, but you don't want them so exhausted that you're having to make subs because of injuries, because they're tired. I think actually having Joe off for this kind of forced suspension, and it's not that we didn't miss him, but actually look at the performance we put in without having Joe Edwards on the pitch, without having Houghton, who you would say is one of our solid kind of midfield, like very calm, very reliable. He wasn't on the pitch either. So we've got other options. So I don't think we have to. I know he felt pressure to put Joe on and start him against Middlesbrough. Like you said, he kind of almost promised that was going to happen. But if he doesn't start him next match, I wouldn't be upset about that, because I think he's just got to choose the best players that we've got now for those last two games. And yes, bring him on for 20 minutes at the end if you think it's going to make a change. But if he's not fit enough, or there's a problem like Maxi, if there's an injury, don't push it. Like, we've got a good squad. We've got a good squad of players.
So, question then for that game against Preston. Preston, sort of not really going to get dragged into it in any way. Nothing to really play for. The lineup today, is that what you start with against Preston?
I don't know. It depends how TJ recovers. I think he's, he did 80 minutes or something.
Got a good week,
so
Tuesday game, Wednesday game.
I don't know. Pleggy looked like he picked up a bit of a knock as well at one point. Like you get these things, don't you? I didn't realise Houghton was injured and he was not on the bench. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong with Houghton. Like, he's not on the bench, so we won't find out that out probably until a few days' time. So sometimes there are injuries that we don't know about. I mean,
on the Edwards front, everyone was desperate to come back in because we had no Maxi, we had no Katic. We were devoid of leadership. When he came on, he clearly was the leader, and we needed it. But we've got leaders back in the side now. I think you're spot on. You play the best 11 players to beat that opposition. I've watched Preston 3 or 4 times this year just because Gibbo's up there, and I wanted to see how well he was doing after he left us.
He scored today.
Did he?
Yeah.
They're quite a direct team. They're a bit Luton-y. They love long throws. They love long balls. They love bombarding your box. So you've got to pick a side, I think, with a bit of height. So maybe it is Katic at right back again. Such at right back again because he's 6'4", 6'3". Who knows? I'm not sure, but who are we to judge on Mirren's selections after today when everyone's going bloody hell, not JB and blah blah.
I think he's going to have to go for it. He's got to go for it, hasn't he? Like we've got to win. So he's got to go for it. He's got to put our best on. So if Edwards maybe is on the bench and he comes on for the last half hour, maybe that's what we need. I don't know. I'm not the manager.
Adam has probably already locked himself in his little magical cage, and he's performing a game plan for Preston already as we speak. Whilst our dear leader is probably having some nachos and a Fanta orange. I don't know. But they'll certainly put together, I think, the best playing 11 and the best bench to start and complete that game. And I think now all the fan base need to be hand in the air and say, I think the guy might know what he's doing.
Yeah. A certain. I think if I'm right, PE, it was you that shared the post. I was talking to Gavin about it earlier. Bradders, bless him, on X. Who back in March was absolutely hating Mueslich and wanted him gone, something along those lines. I can't be bothered to bring it up. And then and Pilgrim Pete just did a snapshot of his recent post where it's about give him time. He's going to make this squad really good in League One. That is just sort of typical of a lot of the fan base at times, isn't it? It's very emotional, not thinking, just reacting at the moment, rather than sort of assessing the situation. And some of it is proper poppycock, as Gav would say, but it's, we're in this dire situation where, unfortunately, because of things prior to, Rooney, the board's decisions, all this sort of stuff, however you want to look at it when we come to digest it at the end of the season, sort of Mueslich has had to pick that up. And actually, Petey's put a question here quite pertinent to this point. How many players have improved under Mueslich compared to when Rooney was manager? Rooney didn't improve one player in the 23 games he was there. I think there's not, apart from Al Hajj being massively out of favour, so, and Beidou just, it's not here nor there in the minutes he's played. I think there isn't one player at all, Steve, is there, that hasn't improved under
They've all improved, especially the fringe players under Rooney. They weren't getting a look in, would they? And every single one of them has improved.
Yeah, I suppose, actually, one that pops into my head, and I am a supporter of him, and he's not everybody's cup of tea, because I think his last goal was that against Middlesbrough 12 months ago, but it's Callum Wright. He can put some brilliant balls in, can make some good runs. He just isn't finding that finishing touch, is he? So he's probably one
2 years ago he hadn't scored for Argo.
Was it 2? Wow. Yeah, wow.
64 games, 65 games now of League and Cup games he hasn't scored.
Yeah. But I think the good thing is everybody, there's, we heard murmurings about some discontent, and you always get that as, sort of a new manager comes in and everybody's sort of asking each other the question of who's up for the fight, but it's definitely clear, in these last few games that, everybody's wanting to fight. I mean, Katic at the end as well, just going round, for a loanee, it's just incredible to see. Steve, are you changing anything in that lineup? Obviously, we'll do a proper little lineup adjustment on the live lounge on Thursday, but are you changing any of that?
Not really. Even if Maxi's fit, do you put him on the bench?
Yeah, that's what I suggested and said just now is I think you can't drop Poulsen, I think, with the way that they're playing at the moment.
I think Maxi and Edwards on the bench, and then you've got those options, haven't you, to come on?
Yeah, Graham was just saying, will Joe be available if we need him? Yes, he will.
One thing is, playing Preston will be similar to playing Derby.
Right, okay. Well, there's just nothing. There's nothing
They'll
in
be
it.
very physical.
Be direct. Be like Luton.
They'll be very, very direct.
Yeah.
And they won't want the ball either.
No, it's going to be one of those games where we're going to want the ball for 30%. They're going to want the ball for 40%. 30%, they might just kick it in the fucking stand. And be done with it. It will be a very different game compared to Norwich and Cov today and Sheffield United, where they want the ball. They like to spray it around the back three and then try and pick pockets and you go through the midfield. This is going to be get Gibson, lump it, right? Get it up there. But that's great for us. I think we've got such height now in our squad. You ask Maxi, you ask Katic, you ask Pleggy, you ask Palsson. They're gonna who want. I'd love that all day. You have to run, just stand there and knock the ball up the pitch. I think that'll be fine. If you've got Tajani in that side as well, where we can get it up and play off him like we have done today. I think it's going to be a contrast of styles, but not massively different. And I suppose the thing you'd ask is if Tajani was fit against Derby, against Luton, and some of those more direct sides, if we played that front three, would we have had a better result? Who knows?
No, absolutely. And also, just something else I just sort of twigged into my sort of memory from seeing in the hearing in the press conferences, sort of going back to Bundu, but mentioning the set piece coach.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of time where, we never did we under Rooney maximise our set pieces in any way, shape or form. And he was highlighting how, since the set piece coach has joined, the team has focused capitalising on the second chance opportunities during those, and as opponents like Wednesday often clear the initial ball, the tactical emphasis allowed Bundu to stay back, receive a well-placed ball and score, highlighting the coach's impact from their set piece strategy. Again, it's just bringing the right people into the backroom staff. Other than, yes, Randall's corners are still pretty poor, but that height that we just talked about, that we've longed for a while now, and having it, just go, if Katic doesn't stay, or worst case Maxi gets sold, we've got to absolutely go out and try and get some decent tall defenders to replace them with, because that's been a significant notable. And obviously, said early on, utilising the long ball throws, I think Steve, you said from Zuch, and how effective that's been. I think it was the throw that led to a flick on from TJ to Bundu, who managed to Bundu it over.
Yeah,
that was Palsson. That was Palsson's assist.
Yeah, and so it just shows how how effective those can be. Just this comment from Martin earlier: what's our budget for wages in League One? Mumba is currently out. Currently our highest paid player, permanent player. I think at the moment, until the end of the season, and we understand what's going on with this investment, we'll know more then. So just to sort of end on really touching upon the Middlesbrough game. Brilliant first half performance. A lot of positive comments from a lot of the Middlesbrough fans as well on the way we played. It was going back to that first sort of quarter with Rooney, where how many times did we play away and fans say, God, you're one of the best teams we've seen play us at home. And then obviously it all went Pete Tong because of X, Y, and Z. And then suddenly, we're getting back to those sort of level of performances. But obviously, yes, the biggest sort of factor of that game on Friday was the penalty. I posted a little slow-mo recorded from my phone, and that now is like my biggest post ever in my entire life. So I was pleased, but there was I was frustrated at the time because of Obafemi just overthinking. I mean, I thought surely he's going to just go forward and be like the player he can be and absolutely smash this in the back of the net. Then he just got caught in two minds, didn't then pass it to Dejani. Same thing as Steve said earlier, with the Beidou, sort of just stumbled upon that and just lost the ball. And then obviously ball came back and Mumba not really, and there was, I don't care what anyone says, there were opportunities for him to get rid of that ball. He didn't, is what it is. And it led to obviously the slightest nudge from Edwards and an absolute, I mean, even a jumping salmon would have been pleased with that leap. yes, he shouldn't have stuck his hand out. I didn't disagree with those comments on that. It's not great. You can see his chest move ever so slightly, but the way in which he jumped or he fell was certainly sort of, it was just uncharacteristic. And I think it was just a shame, because right at the death. Was the Whittaker one a penalty? I mean, that would have been soft. He probably did make contact, but I think there's that freeze frame of a star shape that Whittaker does, which just makes it look even worse. But Gavin, if that isn't a penalty, shouldn't Whittaker then get booked for that?
Simulation.
Yeah. So it's almost like, was the ref caught in two minds and just
don't start me off on referees. I've got my how I've got my little nickname that you gave me, and it didn't get any better today. But I hasten to add, the level of inconsistency is, well, it's palpable, isn't it? In this league, it really is absolutely horrific. We were hard done by, I think, over several games the week before, and Bundu mentioned it today. The old Ultimate Warrior headlock, which nearly dragged him to the floor, was absolutely horrific too. Look, we are where we are. I like the way that Mirren does his business. Doesn't talk about it at all until the week after, and then say it was very disappointing that we had a decision not go our way in the 93rd minute. It was a touch of class. I think maybe a certain Christopher Wilder might be able to learn some lessons off our head coach, because he's gone off again tonight. He's even mentioned us tonight, by the way, in his press conference after they lose against Burnley, that we never should have lost to Plymouth and blah, 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 blah. The guy just can't give... Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, but he did lose to Plymouth, so,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, should it have been simulation? If you think of a pen, it should be a yellow card. Fact. Should we get a yellow card for not giving a goal scoring opportunity a red card? Probably not. I think it's double jeopardy for me. You give the penalty or you give the red card. It's one or the other. But we are where we are. I actually think it's done us a favour today, because otherwise I think probably Edwards would have started. I don't think he'd have had a good game of Such.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, and just to point out, I nearly didn't let him in because we're right at the end of the show, but he begged in the private chat to be let in. But Andy has joined us. He generally has commitments on a Monday night, and we obviously don't do shows on a Monday night. We did this because of the bank holiday and Easter Sunday. Evening, Andy. How are you feeling? You still, when we left the ground, you were moaning and still frustrated. Obviously,
it's never a penalty, Whittaker.
The what? Sorry.
It was frustrating day, wasn't it? Because we did all the right stuff today. We gave them a good game, and do you know what? It was like I feel cheated because the rest of them had won as well. But that's football, isn't it? They're fighting for their lives just as much as we are, and yeah. Well, great. Graham, that was funny though.
Yeah, Graham's also said that listening to the Coventry fans' opinions, they felt totally outmuscled by us, which is probably fair once we got into the game after going 1-up. So, look,
it bodes well for next season, doesn't it?
Yeah, in the Championship, right? Yeah, still?
Yeah, in the Championship.
I love it. I love you boys. It's great. Yeah, we can be in the Championship if you want. It's League One, but you call it what you like.
Absolutely. So I think, look, Middlesbrough's done now. There's not much we can change on it. Listening to sort of all the views, and there was I read most of the comments on that. I had a good bit of banter with some of them back, on that post that I made. But it's, yes, if it was us, we'd be going, absolutely shoved him. This is what.
If Hardy had fallen over there and got a pen and we won 2-1, everyone go tactical genius. Oh, great bit of dark arts there, Ryan. You're our hero.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those though that just sort of the amount of mixed and divided opinions on even from other fans coming in, just sort of on, was it a pen? Yes, was it not a pen? And actually, one person early on in the post thread, pointed out the fact that the touch was outside the box to start with, so effectively should have been a free kick, but sort of Conway went for it. He felt it. He did an uncharacteristic leap to fall over. If he'd have actually just flopped forward, it wouldn't have been as bad. Obviously, then he scores.
The last time I saw something like that, Mike, was I was in Tavistock, right, and the salmon were actually leaping up the weir. It was amazing.
I did do the salmon joke just before.
Oh, did you? All right.
You were
sorry,
late.
I wasn't here.
No, but I think it's and look, they lost today to Wednesday after I think they went a goal.
They
up
missed
and
a penalty.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure,
Good. So,
Conway.
To be honest, though, Mike, if you're going to go what ifs, the one that still sticks in my head, which would have done Steve out of a stat, is Callum Wright's goal away at Luton.
Yeah, that should count.
He's a yard and a half onside.
I know.
That's cost us 2 points, which today would be the massive difference going into the weekend. We're on Saturday. We're in pole here. We only need a draw.
Yeah, we're going to go to Preston. Has anyone not told you we're going to go to Preston and win, and then we're going to beat Leeds because Leeds will be on the beach.
Yeah, exactly that. Although it's still out of our hands, but exactly.
Even on Sky Sports today, they had ref watch on there. They even said it wasn't a penalty.
Which one?
Yeah.
The
one against
Middlesbrough game.
What was the reason? What was the reason they gave Steve?
I'd watch it again, but someone put it in the Argo free chat.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, look, the one other overriding thing that came out of that thread of mine is just sort of how poor everybody agrees the officiating in the Championship has been, and not even just in the Championship, in the lower leagues as well. Someone commented on that. Obviously, the ref had started refereeing since 14 and was using that against him. But then part of me thinks, who does wake up and go, I want to be a ref? Why would you? Also, you have to start.
A milk monitor in primary school does.
Say again?
A milk monitor in primary school does.
Yeah, yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, true as well.
VAR.
Just on contract expiry dates.
Yeah.
Ballymumba, it says on Capology, is 30th of June 2027.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so a bit longer then.
So if he's going for a decent sum. It's going to have to be 3-4 million quid, isn't it?
Yeah, could well be. Right, I think going to leave it there. To be fair,
thanks.
Good.
Yeah, come on.
Hi.
It was 8:45 minutes. To let you know, I don't know if you got the memo.
Yeah, no one missed you. But no, it's rare that Andy misses them, and I know he hates to miss them. So as he's done these since day one with me, so it's always a shame when he can't make it in Carl as well. Once he gets back from Poland, and we have a full house. But look, Emma, it's great to have you back in, and you're welcome anytime, as you know, when you're not sunning it up or working hard on duty, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gavin, good to get your thoughts as well tonight. Steve and Andy, for what it was worth.
I'm here. I'm dedicated to the cause, right?
Exactly. We need to change his group name to Ronnie Rosenthal because he is the absolute 87th minute super sub, isn't
he? Ronnie Rosenthal. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, PE just saying at the end there, Leeds won't be on the beach because they'll be going for the title. Not if it happens in the next game.
That Burnley results tonight
for them.
We hope and we pray that Burnley lose next weekend.
Yeah, Graham saying referee costs us at Borough and Coventry away, and there's no doubt more. And also, yes, we have gained some that are probably a bit dubious as well that have helped us to. But yeah, everybody that's joined us in the comments, thank you for coming in. Do please give us a like and follow. Go and check out the YouTube channel at Block 9 Podcast, as well as our X and also our website, the Block 9.
Right, what's going on with the game? Because I haven't been on a website.
Hang on a second, then. Oh, you weren't here because you couldn't make the live lounge, could you? No. So let me just pull up.
This is the only thing that keeps me awake at night is the score on that and whether Mach's still killing it.
Unless he, because as of Thursday's live lounge, Andy's son went on there and obliterated.
So annoying, my son Gav, it really is.
So I don't know if Matt's
10 minutes
been on
high
since.
Score. Oh.
Let me just play a quick game and get them up.
I have to know.
Oh, those bullets just come down so quickly.
Right, so there we go, Josh. 16-7-7-6. So So
Who's
Matt hasn't been
anonymous?
on there. Oh, he might have done. He's just not
Yeah,
got
it was
back up there.
Josh. Josh is anonymous as well because yeah, he just
Oh, Ninja Matt, you've been absolutely obliterated. I wouldn't stand for that. He's laughing at you, Matt. He's laughing at you.
yeah, Ninja Matt is in your head, in your head.
I'll sleep tonight now, knowing that, without having to log on our own website. So thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Oh dear. Right. Definitely on that note, it's time for bed. Brilliant Easter weekend. Spent it with the family up in Kettering, and the sun, the weather was good up there as well, which was nice, except for the drive back today, which doesn't matter because we were driving back. And then we get home, and then the sun comes out, and we have a brilliant victory against Coventry
That's a
3-1.
great win, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we're still there within a shot, but it's certainly going to be a squeaky bum time for another week until we play Preston away. Let's see what happens then. You know, the Luton 12:30 kickoff could seal it all and it'd be done and dusted by the time we even kick off. But who knows? Keep the faith. That's all we can do. Thanks everybody for joining us. Like I said, we'll be back Thursday for our live lounge at 8:45, where we'll just digest whatever again that evening. But yeah. Sort of Emma, Gavin, Steve, Andy, thanks again. And we'll see you all next time, folks.